In Trump's hush money trial, another fraud, Judge Juan Merchan expanded a gag order barring him from talking about family members of the court and of DA Alvin Bragg. Now, this comes after Trump complained about what sure looks like an apparent conflict of interest that the judge's daughter has. She's the president of something called Authentic Campaigns. That's a Democrat consulting firm. And according to the New York Post, this firm raised $93 million in campaign donations based off this very case of her dad's. Joining me now, Saul Weisenberg, Fox News contributor, former deputy independent counsel, and David Schoen, former Trump impeachment attorney. David, so Trump filed today to get Judge Merchan recused from the case. Is that a long shot?
It shouldn't be. I've said from the start of this case, the appearance of impropriety is clear, so he should recuse himself for that reason. He's handpicked for this case, Trump Organization case, Bannon case, Weisselberg case, rather than random selection. There's a case, Francolino versus Coleman from 2004, that's upheld that kind of process, handpicking by the DA, but said if it's raised on direct appeal and you can show a conflict, then it shouldn't be permitted. It has a terrible appearance. In this case, I believe it goes beyond the appearance. I believe under 22 New York Code of Rules and Regulations, 100.2, 3ED3, that he has to be 3E1D3, sorry, that he must disqualify himself. That provides that if the judge has a relative to the fourth degree who has a substantial interest that could be affected by the proceeding, then he must recuse himself. And that's this case. The New York Post article is clear. This person, his daughter, held herself out as the digital persuasion director for Kamala Harris, now president of the company. He must disqualify himself. There are many judges on this court. The public depends on the integrity of the system.
Now, tonight saw the DA's office responded to Trump's request for recusal, telling the judge that this daisy chain of innuendos is a far cry from evidence that this court has a direct, personal, substantial, or pecuniary interest in reaching a particular conclusion. There's simply nothing new here that would alter this court's prior conclusion, that nothing about this proceeding will directly benefit this court's family, let alone the court itself. Saul, now, again, all of us have been litigating cases in courts for many years. You guys are more seasoned. I've been out of the game for a while. But this, given how important this case is, why would they want to leave even the scintilla of a doubt about impartiality and a conflict of interest?
Well, as we've talked about before, Laura, that's what's so amazing about all of these efforts against former President Trump. You would think his opponents would be more careful about what they were doing. Keep in mind, there are two issues here. The first is the one David has talked about. Should the judge be recused? And by the way, from what I read today, Adam Schiff's various campaigns, political campaigns in 2019 and 20 alone, at a time when he was dealing with Michael Cohen, who may be a witness in this case, spent a media buy of about $3.7 million with Merchan's company that she's now the head of. So the question is, number one, should he be recused? I don't know the answer to that. But number two, should Trump be allowed to comment upon it? To me, that is core First Amendment right of his, assuming that he doesn't do it in a clearly inflammatory way that would encourage people to harm her.
I know, David, Saul just took the words out of my mouth. The idea that a defendant who's facing what he believes is a fundamentally unfair trial, that he can't get a fair trial, is now prohibited from talking about the reasons why. Again, let me just read this in a letter that we'll go back to it. In a letter to the judge, Trump's attorneys noted that a Twitter account used by the daughter appears to have been closed to the public. So, too, has Authentic, that's the firm's X account, thereby limiting President Trump's ability to investigate these issues. Well, if they have no conflict issue, why are they making the account go private?
Yeah, the gag order impinges the First, Fifth, and Sixth Amendment rights of President Trump and the public's right to a public trial. The public must know all of the facts surrounding and underlying this case and the players in this case and their credibility. It's absolutely outrageous. And remember, all of this, we're in an election year here. The Judicial Ethics Committee opinion, May 4th, 2023, that rejected the claim of recusal had a completely different scenario. It was a business of the judge's daughter, wasn't involved, it was in a real estate business. And the question isn't whether the business is involved, it's whether there's an interest that could be substantially affected. The New York Post piece proves it.
Well, Saul and David will stay on this. Thank you both.
I know that everyone here will soon be marching over to the Capitol building to peacefully and patriotically make your voices heard.
It's not about justice. It's not about agenda. It's not about mobilizing people. It's about dialing for corporate dollars. These two parties have sold the U.S. government and the American people to the highest bidders.